Um, well, I'll go on to Dougie's question now. He says, "Hi Damo, thanks for all the content. It's great to see someone helping young musicians. I'm over 50 and not looking to be famous, but I do love playing and creating. Could you please make some content for us oldies on how we can grow what we do? I'm learning about social media, but a little out of touch. Keep up the good work, Dougie."
Ah, that's really cool. Okay, so I mean that's a good point. We tend to base a lot of our content towards 20 to 30-year-olds because if you look at the insights of my audience, it tends to be 19 to 32. But that doesn't mean that there's not musicians that aren't watching this that are 13 or 70. And you know, and I like the way it says oldies at 50. I don't think that's old at all. And I like the way he says about not being famous, and it's just a case of growing what he does. And I think that's a really big thing, is not everybody wants to be famous, not everybody wants to sell 1 million records, but everybody wants to get their music out there to more and more people. And I think a big part of this comes down to learning enough about the industry and to build your audience, but to keep the bits that are the most important to you, which is having fun. And for me, having fun is when you make music. I mean, well, that's why you do it, isn't it? You make music to create, and you enjoy creating and building it. And the pressures then of getting a record deal and selling 1 million records, they do weigh heavy when you're having to set all these targets. Whereas if you're just trying to grow something, then you can take a slightly different strategy. I think one thing is, there was one bit you said about, I'm learning about social media, but a little out of touch. So I think that's a very important statement, because social media isn't going away, and age, unfortunately, is not an excuse anymore, because it's here to stay, and it's just the way people communicate. People used to communicate on the phone, and you know, I was with a mate of mine yesterday, and he was talking about his dad's 80, and he was like, "We're not very good with phones." I get that, but when you're 40 or 50, you know, like I'm 40, like I had a skateboard until a couple of years back. So I think age, when it comes to social media, isn't something that's an excuse. It's something you have to embrace. You don't have to go as full on into it as I have, but if you look at my journey over the last 9 months, I started this in August, and before August, I didn't have any social media. I was one of those people that went, "Oh, fuck Facebook," and I didn't even have a personal Facebook. And I didn't want to see people's breakfast. I wanted to build my business, and I wanted to just shut all that stuff away. I wasn't bothered by other people's stuff. Then I realized that this is the way that we build brands and we communicate. And you can dip your toe into that social media stuff a lot smaller than trying to be on every single platform. So I think, Dougie, what I would do if I were you is I would pick the social media platforms that make this fun, because you're creating. And I would think, depending on whether you want to make videos or how you're creating your music, and if you're thinking, "Oh, I don't want to make videos, that's horrible," then you've still got stuff like SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram. There's millions of ways of doing it, but unfortunately, it's no excuse. You're gonna have to embrace some of the social media stuff, because it's just the way people are going to hear about you the quickest, because of the amount of noise and everyone's doing it. And so, I think, just having a look at the question again. I just think being 50 it's a great time to make music. I think you've got so much of a great story. I think it's more interesting than every other 20-year-old in a band. I think it's how you tell your story, because I think I'm interested. I'm interested in Dougie because how he's going to make this work at 50, and what he wants to do, because he has said, I don't want to be famous, but I want to create. I want to get my music out there. So, you know, playing gigs is going to be fun. I mean, that is such an underrated thing. You know, I get people asking me, should I be doing gigs? Is it the best way to promote my band? And I'm thinking, no, but it's fucking fun, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, that's why we do this. We love it. The standing on stage. Surely that's why every single one of us got into being a musician. To pick up a guitar, a bass, a microphone, drumsticks, walk on that stage, play something, and have someone go, "Oh, dude, that's wicked." That to me is the be all and end all of creating something. You even the writing for me is like, you write music not so you can sell it, you write music so that you can play it. For me, I mean, that's the way I look at it. So if you're 50, get out there and play. You know, whether it's pubs or clubs, or you might not want to go on tours, but there's still loads of places that you can play out there. I think it does need a slightly different strategy, because you're not going to be going and playing. You're probably not going to go and play in a venue with 3 other 18 to 20-year-olds. You might do. You might be up for that. But I do think there's loads of ways. But I think personally, when I look at that question, I think the main thing is number one, just because you're 50, it doesn't mean you get the excuse to say that social media is you're a little bit out of touch with social media, because it doesn't take long, because it's not complicated, and because all of the content I'm making for all ages, but for 18 to 20-year-olds, they've got no fucking idea either. That's why they're watching this shit. I had no idea, and I had to start looking into it and developing it. One thing I've learned with social media is there are social media companies, not social media people. There are social media experts that are shit at social media. It's hilarious. It's such a new market, because social media's only been going for 20 years. So many people are stabbing in the dark, and I see so many people setting themselves up as a self-employed social media person, and I'm looking at this stuff going, are you fucking kidding me? You're paying for that. What are you talking about? It's this, if I just do it enough, then eventually I'll get good at it. Well, don't charge for it, do it for free. And I think because of that, there is this stigma attached to social media, and it's not as complicated as people make out. This is just communication, engagement, and a way of doing what we've been doing for 60 years. You know, everything is different. I always say this in the music industry, everything is different, and yet everything is the same as well. It's so weird. Like, we are in a totally different time where you can do so much great stuff with social media, yet the general message of what you're doing is the same thing as fucking McDonald's was doing in the 60s or whatever it's going to be. So everything's different, everyth's the same. This is just a new way, and learning social media doesn't take long, whether you're 18 or whether you're 70. It's just a way of finding the way that you want to get your message across. Podcasting, videos, spoken word, pictures, Twitter. It's just communication, engagement, building relationships. That's all this is. It's storytelling and building relationships. So I think you are in an amazing position being 50 years old, because you might have a little bit of extra money that you can put into it. You might have some extra time because your kids have grown up. I don't know. But I think I could start a band at 50 and have a right laugh. Probably more so than when I was 18, because all the pressure's off. And everything I do is like just for fun. And if I want to go on tour, I can go on tour. And if I want to do gigs, I can do gigs. But there's no pressure to do anything I don't want to do. So the main bit of advice I would give you is really enjoy building this. Enjoy the journey more so than putting too much pressure on the end result. It's for most people, it's too much pressure. I think it's all about fun. For me, with this, I love it. Like, I've got my targets in my head, but as soon as I hit my targets, if I get to the area that I want to get to, and I'm like, oh, I've got 1 million followers on Facebook, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to go, well, I want 10 million. It's never going to be enough. But whilst I'm doing it, the most important thing for me is I'm loving the journey. Every day I love making videos and trying different things and seeing what's working, because I see it as creating and building. So that's the area for me is find the social media that's working and enjoy the process of making music and just having fun and experimenting with stuff.